This show doesn't wait to hit you. It opens with 70-year-old Aesoon sitting in a poetry class for seniors, writing down a memory that instantly throws us back to 1961. And just like that, you're walking into her childhood. No flashy transitions, just a quiet memory with teeth. We meet young Aesoon, a firecracker of a girl who wants to live with her mother, a haenyeo who dives into the ocean for abalone every day just to feed the family. But instead, she's stuck with her father's family, rich enough to let her stay, but cold enough to treat her like a maid. From the jump, you feel it. This isn't just a story about hardship. It's about the tension between survival and dignity, between dreams and duty. Aesoon wins second place in a poetry contest, a huge moment for a girl like her. But her mom doesn't even notice. Not because she doesn't care, but because she's breaking her back every day to keep them afloat. Literally. That scene, that crushed me. It reminded me how easily our parents' love can go unseen when they're too busy fighting to provide. But when her mom finally reads the poem, she snaps, storms into that uncle's house, throws down fish like a declaration of war, and drags Aesoon back home where she belongs. That was love in its rawest form. Not "I'm proud of you," but "no one will ever treat my daughter like she's small." And right when they finally reconnect, the show delivers its first real punch. Her mother collapses. Years of diving have worn her down. Her health deteriorates fast. Aesoon, in a panic, tries to stay strong, but it's heartbreaking to watch. One minute they're bickering about cigarettes, the next her mom is cooking abalone for her and giving her final instructions. Don't serve your stepfather. Go back to school. Be more than this. And then, she's gone. That broke me, because it's so real. Mothers die without ceremony. Dreams get paused, not always fulfilled. But somehow, life goes on, and through it all, Gwansik is there. The quiet boy who never says what he feels, but shows it with every step he takes beside her. He brings her food, works the cabbage farm with her, protects her from the shadows. He never tries to be the hero. He just never leaves. Later, when Aesoon sits in the market pretending to sell vegetables so she can study, it's Gwansik who's actually selling for her in the background. It's these details that wreck you, not because they're sad, but because they're familiar. They feel like the people we grew up with, the ones who never made it to college because someone else needed the chance. The moms who never said, "I love you," but made sure you ate. The boys who never confessed, but remembered what kind of bread you liked. This show doesn't dramatize hardship. It honors it. It shows how dignity, love, and even poetry survive in the middle of poverty, routine, and daily exhaustion. So yeah, nothing happens in the first episode, but by the end of it, I was already wrecked. And I knew. This wasn't just a drama. It was a memory. It was a life. K-dramas usually rely on fast pacing, sharp dialogue, and music cues to carry emotional beats. When life gives you Tangerines breaks that entirely. This show uses long silences, static shots, and natural ambient sound to do what most dramas over-direct. It creates space for the audience to sit with characters rather than just watch them. In psychology, this aligns with the default mode network, the brain's reflective system that activates during rest. Studies by Dr. Mary Helen Imordino-Yang show that emotional depth increases when we're given time to process, especially during slower stimuli. That's why scenes like Aesoon reading while Gwansik sells cabbages behind her, their slow walk through Busan after losing everything, and Aesoon silently folding laundry while remembering her mother feel heavier than they look. These moments are built on emotional resonance, not exposition. You're never told how they feel. The characters don't explain it to each other either. The show trusts you to recognize it. The use of routine, meals, farming, boat work, selling vegetables also mirrors Bessel van der Kolk's theory of trauma recovery. He explains that regulation happens through rhythm, repetition, and bodily safety. That's exactly what this show gives us. It replaces dramatic catharsis with consistency, ritual, and small gestures, which are often the foundation of real-world emotional repair. In short, it's not slow because it lacks drama. It's slow because it respects emotional realism. Look, I already knew IU could act. IU has delivered emotional depth before. My Mister made that clear. She's played wounded, complex characters who hold back their emotions until they explode. In Hotel del Luna, she carried elegance and pain in equal measure, playing an immortal woman haunted by her past. Even in Broker, she brought raw, physical grief to the screen. But in When Life Gives You Tangerines, IU doesn't just play emotion, she embodies a life. As young Aesoon, she isn't defined by trauma or rage. She's just a girl trying to study, write poetry, fall in love, and get out of Jeju. And IU plays her with total restraint. No dramatic breakdowns, no overdone longing stares. Her face does very little, but somehow you see everything. Her expressions shift in micro movements. The slight hardening of her eyes when someone underestimates her. The catch in her breath when she watches Gwansik walk away. The tension in her jaw when she's told to marry an older man to get into college. This kind of acting relies on micro-expression work, often more powerful than crying or yelling. According to a study in Frontiers in Psychology, subtle emotional displays leave longer-lasting impressions because they feel real, not performed. The dual portrayal is even more impressive when you factor in how she ages into older Aesoon. IU slightly lowers her pitch, softens her movement, and slows her gait. She doesn't play old, she plays seasoned. Her performance is rooted in memory, not caricature. Compare this to her role in My Mister, where pain is buried under sarcasm and survival mode. Aesoon is different. She dreams, she breaks, she endures. It's her most naturalistic performance yet. No filters, no drama queen energy, just presence. And in a show that runs on silence and subtlety, IU is the engine that makes every quiet scene matter. IU doesn't just act across time in this drama, she acts across entire spectrums of love. And she makes each connection feel lived in, distinct, and painfully believable. Let's start with Aesoon and Gwansik, the heart of this story. Their relationship isn't cinematic, it's committed. It's one built through history, survival, and quiet loyalty. You see it in the awkward first kiss attempt, in the way he brings her food without needing a thank you, and how they become partners through farming, parenting, and dreaming in unison. Their big emotional moment, when Aesoon pushes him away to protect his future, doesn't rely on drama. It relies on a single lie, a tossed ring, and a long walk in opposite directions. When he jumps off that boat to swim back to her, it's not a grand gesture. It's a correction of fate, of miscommunication, of everything left unsaid. But then there's Gum-myung, Aesoon's daughter, also played by IU in the present timeline. And here, we see IU build entirely new chemistry, with Lee Jun-young as Yong-byom and Kim Se-yeon-ho as Park Cheong-seop. With Yong-byom, the energy is full of young love's potential that never had structure. They clearly like each other. They share quiet moments of understanding. But his family treats her like a burden, and his inability to protect her leads to their slow, inevitable breakup. Their connection feels like a heartbreak we've all lived, when love exists, but courage doesn't. IU plays Gum-myung in these moments with a muted hope that slowly erodes. She doesn't cry dramatically, she just dims. And that shift in her body language? Devastating. Then comes Cheong-seop, the artist, the soft soul, the man who doesn't just love her, he respects who she's become.
보호자분 나가서 바로 동의서 쓰시고 만에 하나 산모랑 아이가 위험.
안 해요. 우리 부인 댁할게요.
Their bond builds in fragments. Walking home together, small jokes, shared silence. It's not fiery, it's warm. And when he paints her portrait, it doesn't feel performative. It feels like recognition. IU's portrayal here is entirely different, more guarded, more mature. This isn't first love, it's earned affection. To pull off such different emotional tempos with 3 leading men across 2 generations is a feat on its own. But IU makes each dynamic feel believable, not just because of chemistry, but because she adjusts her emotional access. With Bogum, she's all fire and roots. With Lee Jun-young, she's fragile ambition. With Kim Se-yeon-ho, she's tender clarity. And none of it feels recycled. That's not just acting. That's emotional code switching on a whole new level. There's no fantasy in When Life Gives You Tangerines. No chaebol twist, no overnight success, just a family doing their best. And that's what makes it brutal in the most honest way. This drama shows what it actually looks like when your life gets built on decisions you didn't want to make. Ae-soon doesn't want to marry young. She wants to go to college, become a poet, and maybe live on the mainland. But when her mother dies, her stepfather won't support her, and her family sees her education as optional, so she marries Gwon-sik, not for romance, but survival. That's not a love story, that's a pivot, and we've seen people make that pivot in real life. Gwon-sik's story isn't a fantasy either. He trains for athletics, has real talent, and could have had a career. But he gives it up to support Ae-soon, to sell vegetables, to farm cabbages, to fix things, because someone had to. In episode 16, he confesses he spent his whole life blaming himself for their son Dong-myung's death. Not with words, but by silently visiting the grave alone, again and again. This show doesn't turn pain into spectacle. It makes it part of the routine. And then there's Gum-myung. She's smart enough to go abroad. But life gets in the way. Family, expectations, survival. She gives it up, she works, she compromises, she breaks. At one point, she's asked to commit academic fraud. Later, she's humiliated by her fiancé's mother. It's not a dramatic takedown, it's just slow erosion. And somehow, she still keeps moving forward. There's a scene in episode 12 where Ae-soon visits her grandmother. Her mind is going, but she remembers Ae-soon and senses her grief over losing Dong-myung. The two women sit together, neither saying much, but somehow exchanging decades of pain, love, and shared survival. That's what this drama gets right. Grief, regret, and love don't always get monologues. Sometimes they just sit next to each other quietly. It's the kind of storytelling that doesn't need metaphors. Because the real thing, the routine, the classism, the motherhood guilt, the generational pain, is enough. And when Ae-soon finally publishes her poems in her 70s, it doesn't feel like a grand achievement. It feels like proof that even the most ordinary life carries legacy. I've watched dozens of K-dramas that made me cry. This one, it sat with me. For days. Because it wasn't just sad, it was familiar. That feeling of watching your parents get older while still calling you to eat. Of realizing someone gave up everything just so you could have something. Of understanding that love isn't always loud and regret isn't always dramatic. When life gives you tangerines doesn't try to inspire. It just tells the truth. About work, about sacrifice, about how sometimes the most romantic thing someone can do is fix your chair or pick your cabbages or just stay. And maybe that's why it lingers. Because it doesn't want you to be impressed. It just wants you to remember. Did this drama quietly broke something open in you too? Let me know your thoughts below. And watch out as we got more K-drama analysis that you'll surely enjoy.